Hello, hello, hello. Welcome wherever you are in the world. Morning, afternoon, evening. It's midday here in the UK. I think 5:30 with you, Shahana, is it, in India
Half
at the moment?
four, half
Half
four.
four. Half four. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Community Campfires, an idea and innovation that Shahana and I are trying to bring to you with many other amazing guests. So we've got two amazing guests today. But before we bring them on, Shahana, I'd love to invite you to invite the context for where we're exploring today. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure, Gary, and thank you. Welcome everyone to Community Campfires and to the emerging conversations. So, why are we having this conversation? The seed for today's conversations and for many future ones is goes something like this. In the face of planetary collapse, I believe, we believe, organizations have unique roles to play. For centuries, they have been shackled by the old machine metaphor. But organizations are living systems, regenerative, thriving, and flourishing. What would they be like as imaginal cells carrying the codes of metamorphosis, carrying the codes of future narratives? If such organizations dared to break free of the matrix that currently shackles them, they could become weavers and wayfinders of planetary healing, nodes, interconnected nodes, interrelated nodes of emergent future possibilities. Imagine millions of organizations dotting the planet, acting as nodes of the emergent narrative. As heralds of the new narratives, how would such organizations function? What would such organizations feel like? What would be their operating principles? The new operating system. It's time for us to collectively co create the new OS for the organizations of the future, the next stage organizations. So, welcome everyone to this conversation. Back to you, Gary.
Beautiful. What an intro. What an introduction. Let's bring Haluk and also Tom into the conversation. Thank you both for being open and willing to go exploring with us today. So let's first invite Haluk into the space. How are you? And tell us how the introduction impacted you today.
It's yeah, thank you very much. It's a great to be with you again once again, and I just love to talk about the what the future is going to bring us and what are the big changes. And I'm always excited to be a part of this big change and this idea transformation. So thank you very much for leading on this too.
Cheers, Haluk. And Tom, how about yourself? Thanks for joining us again. And how did the introduction touch on you? And by the way, everyone, if you don't know these two amazing humans, they're both in the self-management space, one in chemicals, one in finance. So, Tom, how did it touch you today, Shahana's introduction?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the introduction a lot because I like this whole idea of narratives a lot. But we probably dive into this later. But it also has to do with the fact that I'm a historian, I think, or that's what I sometimes think. That I already started to write because we just don't realize that we are so occupied by a certain understanding of our society today that we are not able to zoom out again and think about this narrative. So I like your introduction a lot, and I started to write immediately a lot of stuff down. So, but looking forward to our conversation.
Fantastic. Well, thanks both for that. And again, it's a very emergent conversation. We'll go where we're going to go. So, Shahana, I don't know about you, but I'm really curious. What did Tom just write down? Like, I can't
I
let that bit
know,
go.
I know.
Come on, Tom, kick us off.
Yeah, what I think, depending on, let's say, how we see the world, we have a very linear thinking. We always think in it's going up. It starts left on the bottom, and then all those slides it goes up and the right, and you have to be on the right top. But the Greeks, but also another, and most of the time around the world, it was about thinking circular. And now this whole idea of circular or circularity came back. And in the beginning, everybody would think circularity. It is very strange word, etc. But it's as old as society. And if you take climate change or other stuff, it always comes back. If it is your personal life or society or climate or nature or companies, it's just this whole idea of linear thinking is, I think, a big lie and a big trap in which we are stepping ourselves in. But we should zoom out and think a little bit more about what we're doing all the time. Amen.
Yes. Yes.
Feel free to jump in, Haluk. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, I mean, maybe. Okay, the yes, it's a very good explanation of the circular mindset. That yes, the circle is coming back to us, and I always add one more layer on it. That if we ever gonna reach the level that we understood, we need to act collectively, think collectively. Then I believe that we all gonna understand that the human being, as human being, 8 billion of us living on the earth, that we need to think the same way. We need to look at the things that whatever we do is going to come back to us or to our next generation. And yeah, I mean, every one of us should, we'll talk later on in details, but every one of us should really do something on this collective approach to problems, to solutions.
I totally agree with what Tom and Haluk both said. One is, yes, we are so trapped into this reductionist, mechanistic, linear thinking, which is, whether it's a product of the age of reason, enlightenment, Newtonian science, whatever you call it. We are so caught in that, that whole linear, that everything has to progress in an upward motion, up and forward, that we've forgotten that nature actually is cyclical. Nature is cyclical. Everything that it's nothing is really linear. Everything is interconnected, interrelated, interdependent, and everything goes. What goes back comes around. It's very cyclical. It's very and it's complex. That's the entire complexity chaos theory. And on the other hand, we are also caught in this trap of a single narrative running the world, whether they be organizations, whether they be societies. It's all about progress and development and profit and growth and GDP and a few paradigms or few parameters defining the matrix. But that's not how a very complex, a very diverse, and extremely sentient planet function. We are on a living planet. Our organizations are living systems, and they cannot operate like machines, though we forced them to for centuries. And I think that's where we are. We've gone off the path, and that's where we are in this brink of collapse. And like Haluk said, it cannot be any longer a single narrative, nor can it be dreamed up by a handful of men. It is being a collective effort, a movement, if you will, arising from across the planet in different nodes and pockets, where people are coming together with narratives, with seeds of the future narratives. So, yeah, I'm just kind of weaving what both Tom and Haluk expressed. Thank you.
I'm so intrigued straight away because straight away we've got collective management, we've got linear thinking, we've got single story. I'd love to know if anybody's watching us live, like what's coming up for you? Like what's come up for you in just this first 5 minutes? Because for me, to be honest, this is not a conversation I was in even 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I was still in that super conditioned state, right? Very innocently, because it's almost like the water, right, that we swim in. You don't even realize it's there, these patterns of behavior, these systems, these stories, these narratives. So I'm really curious, Tom, Haluk, and Sahana, how do we start to weave new stories? How do we start to invite everybody, right? No matter what their role, whether they're the administrator, whether they're a big CEO, or they used to be. Not in Haluk's case, he fired himself. But at the end of the day, no matter what the functionality is of somebody's role, how do we truly allow every one of them to come alive as part of these new systems that are emerging? Do you have any thoughts on that? What are some of the practicalities?
For me, it has to happen, and it's happening. So it's not like that we need to, do something, especially for that, because just imagine that now the companies very, let me give you the example directly from the industry. Now the companies are start to talk about agile, being working with teams. So they try to include them because they realize inclusiveness and ownership is one of the two very important emotions that they need to have in their teams, because the decisions they've been taking as centralized decisions are not being owned by the people who's gonna make an action, and it doesn't give them the inclusive emotion. And without inclusiveness and ownership, they lose people. They lose, the what they want to do. They cannot perform enough. So they have already moved to a position that how we can include more and more, and how we can, make them feel on the decision. So when they have that feeling, I believe it's gonna affect in a bigger picture, in a worldwide picture, because it's same thing happening. If you're going to solve the problems of climate change or the wars or the viruses, what we do is we make decisions centrally and we tell people what to do, but they don't feel inclusive in that decision, and they don't own the decision. So the actions are always being late or not even done at all, because when someone tells me what to do about the climate change, I may do it, I may not do it, but I don't feel inclusive because nobody asked me, nobody informed me about that decision process. So it's happening in the company's level, and hopefully when it happens in the company's level, like when we talk about self-management, it is one of the example. It is not only just you give the power to people in the company, but also you make them feel inclusive and own the process, and that changes everything. So I'm hoping that within that direction, coming up with the blockchain, Web3, I don't know, metaverse, this all include people. This all create the inclusiveness that they will become a part of decision. They become a part of power, and when they feel inclusive, they'll own it. And when they own it, we'll solve the problems.
I would like to,
Please, sorry, Tom. Sorry, yeah.
no, you just finish. Haluk.
Yeah, no. What I feel is, Tom, like I don't know, it is the same feeling with everyone, but that's why I changed the question a little bit when Gary asked how we can make them, separate this idea or mentality. We gotta make sure that everyone becomes a part of the decision-making process, not at the end of a decision taken and that they're gonna be part. So in the world, we are seeing that most of the cases, even for the good things, like even for the UN decides 18 parameters for saving the world, it's the decision ended and given to people to act on it. So that's the thing that we have to understand, that we gotta include people on the process. So UN needs to think about something on their next time when they take new things. They need to include people on the decision making process. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, I think it's more or less, to put it very simple, or to keep it simple. It's the same question all the time, and it doesn't matter in what cultural part of the world or when. So if you would have a kind of metrics, doesn't matter on the timeline when it was or where it was. And you can zoom on into these different dimensions or zoom out. But let's say the discussion you have in the business environment is that I always try to make it very simple by saying the purpose of business is not business, the purpose of business is purpose. And from there on, uh, the same is true for society, and the same is true for your individual life. So for everybody as an individual, life is just limited, and we don't ask the right questions. So we should start to ask the questions with the end in mind. But our whole educational system, I see this with my small children, everything is focused in this linear model. So we don't ask like we did in the past by putting a skull on our desk, or in religion or whatsoever. We ask the question, okay, what's a meaningful life? No, it's about showing others how important we got or how rich we are, and then driving cars around uh, between A and B, which doesn't make sense, etc. So this whole it's more a philosophical question. I think we have to change our education, start with the end in mind, and then you can also change. If we change this whole idea, this narrative, on an individual basis, on a company basis, that the purpose is about purpose and not about making as much money as possible, and that for society is about multi-stakeholder and keeping all the people together, and trying to avoid inequality, because otherwise you will end with revolution or wars or whatsoever. It's this holistic approach. We have to implement it in education for the next generation, because I mean, the way we are messing around is just, I mean, if we continue like this, we were the last generation, or our kids or our grandchildren, and that
Yeah.
can't be let's say, our goal. So I would always ask back to the people, do you have children or do you have grandchildren? Are you able to watch into the mirror and talk to your grandchildren, because they could be the last generation? And then if we are willing to ask this decisive question, perhaps we are able to change the narratives.
It's really coming up powerfully for me, Sahana. I love your thoughts on this, but this, I'm always sitting in the circles of like awareness of self, awareness of others, and awareness of the systems at large that sustain all life, right? You've got these three circles that all wrap one another.
Yeah.
And I think the one that gets the least focus, based on what Tom just shared, and certainly in my experience of life, is that first one, that inner circle, right? Looking in the mirror. And I'm just wondering, how do we invite more people to look in the mirror, Shahana?
I think Tom and Haluk both brought up such crucial points, and I'm kind of, clubbing what they both said collectively. So both of them spoke about wholeness, about organizations thinking holistically from a wholeness perspective rather than only from a profit perspective. Like Tom said, people have become so outward focused about the impression they make on society, on the community, on their families, on their organizations, that the true purpose of one's life, what is a meaningful life, what form makes a meaningful organization, what is meaningful work, what does work mean to each one of us? Is it about making profit for some so unknown and unseen shareholder, or is it much more than that? So all of this wholeness aspect. Then there was the multi-generational aspect. Can I look in the mirror and what am I leaving behind for 3 generations after me, for my grandchildren, for my grandchildren's grandchildren? And then there is the aspect of, what Haluk said, self-management, the decision making and the decision taking aspect. You cannot have decision happening at some central point and then everyone is instructed to follow that decision. Doesn't work. Apart from the fact that human beings are autonomous, sovereign beings, it also doesn't work from a very practical aspect. In an extremely complex, interconnected world, imagine a handful of people taking decisions who don't even know about the rest of the system. What kind of impact will those decisions even have? So it's all about, concentration of power rather than really creating effective impact. So and power is energy. It will concentrate wherever it's allowed to concentrate, and it will flow if it's allowed to flow. So if an organizational channel allows the free flow of power, free flow of decision making, free flow of knowledge, which is another form of power, all of these are energetic flows. And then that's where we arrive at in a form of wholeness, collective decision making and decision taking in the face of, what is currently happening in the globe, the planetary collapse, the chaos. And in the face of complexities, we cannot have, like I said, I'm repeating, a handful of people taking decisions in the face of extremely interrelated, chaotic, complex times. We bandy about the phrase VUCA all the time, but we don't really appreciate what being in a VUCA world means. Being in a VUCA world means appreciating diversity and complexity and understanding that no one person can be in charge. So, I mean, all of these different aspects came up, and I would love to hear what Tom and Haluk have about, their organizational stories, the kinds of stories maybe their organizations said 10 years back and what they are saying now. Are they different, or what are the differences? I'd love to know more about that journey from each one of you.
Before starting that journey, Sana, I just would like to challenge a little bit here on the thoughts of, because Gary and you were saying about the issue, the profits centered idea is changing or should change. But I was making this conversation with Gary. I believe when we really want to change the world, we have to explain people and understand that the other way doesn't mean it is not it doesn't have the profit in it. So
Yep.
when you want to impact, when you want a positive impact for the future, it does very well contains the value, which is profit, because profit or the money for me is the fuel that you needed for your car. So if you want to move to one direction, doesn't matter which direction it is, it's a great impact direction to make world a better place. Then you need fuel. For sure, you need to deliver value and take the value in exchange. Today, the word is bad money, the word is bad profit, but forget about the word. It's a value exchange, which was there for thousands of years. So you got to create a value and exchange with a value to continue on your journey. So as our company, yes, we are decentralized the power, we kill the power. We don't even use the word empowerment because we didn't empower anyone else. It was the power with me, let's say, as being boss, and we killed it. We said there's no boss in this company anymore. So when you distribute the power to people, actually we don't even use the word power. When you distribute the responsibility to people, when you say, okay, guys, let's do it together. And when you have this decentralized mindset, and when they do collectively acting and decision making, there is this great value comes out together with a very positive impact to future and to world. And that positive, this great value means the profit. So we have
Yep.
tripled our profit during a year that we have this made transformation. So this is the way how we can, tell people that the direction is this direction, and we're going to have a positive impact to world, decentralized power, thinking about the world problems. And you don't need to worry about when you give the decentralized power to number of people, you don't need to worry about the world's problem because they're going to take care of it. It's the problem of centralized management when there is a CEO or a boss or a president or I don't know, whatever it is, he or she can think the very personal and not the worldwide or the other people. But when you give the power to a bunch of people, in any way, naturally, they take decisions on the benefit of the world, the future, and the people.
I would agree with Haluk that money for me also is a neutral word.
Yes.
because it depends on what you do with it. And the second point about let's say profits, I always say in this whole environment of B Corps and companies with purpose, if you have a purpose and think that you're doing it in a more multi-stakeholder way or in a better way, those companies who have a purpose should try to become market leaders, because that would be, let's say, in the direction of moving forward. And that can be, doesn't matter if it is, let's say, in a commercial field or if you're cooperative, etc. But if you say, okay, we're doing this in a more decent way, called, let's say, multi-stakeholder, why wouldn't you then be even more have the perhaps even obligation to try to to change something? I mean, if you have a market share of 0. X percent, you're not going to change anything. So if you are, let's say, in my industry, finance, if you want to change something and you have let's say a bank which is more decent, then try to gain market share, because other, I mean, the business will be done, but by others who do it in a less purposeful way. So, and that's something which sometimes I think we should keep in mind. And especially if you want to grow, or if you want to invest, or if you want to pay your people decently, you should just earn money, because otherwise you don't have a business model. And that's what often also happens, that in a lot of companies which start with a very purposeful goal, they underpay their people, and that what doesn't work in the long run, because those people also have to feed their families, want to build a house, or have to send their children to university or whatsoever. So it doesn't help then that you start by changing, I don't know, a nutrition system, and then you underpay your people, and then in the end they have to apply for Unilever and Nestle because they can't pay the rent or pay the education of their children. So I think this is an important point, because this often gets forgotten. So I would always say, if you are a more decent entrepreneur, or have you a more decent goal, try to be more, and I would say in an American way, try to be also a little bit more aggressive and claim your space in the whole environment or in your industry. But that's to balance is something which we find, let's say, from an intellectual point of view, sometimes very difficult, because we think if somebody is very purposeful, somebody is very quiet and doesn't claim the space. So that's the one remark I wanted to make. And the other one is, let's say, everything which is what I've always find very interesting about self-organization and hierarchies, etc. Hierarchy is also a neutral word, the way things are organized. And everything which is complex has decentralized decision-making systems. So I always have to laugh a little bit when you have discussions about management, so to say, between brackets, and people are going to explain you that that self-organization doesn't work, because everything which really becomes big only works in a decentralized or self-organizational context, or in a decentralized way of decision making. It doesn't matter if it is a rainforest. And the funny thing is that even in management, we use the words taken from that sciences. So we call it ecosystem. Why is it called ecosystem? Because it's very complex. And in a rainforest, there's an enormous complexity. Or if you talk about the market economy, we also don't subscribe people what are the prices they have to take for a product if they produce something. So I would say, if you zoom out, it's nothing is more logical than to install self-organizational systems, no matter what area it is.
I agree 100%, Tom, because again, I just wanted to make it bold. It is not a decision between purpose and profits, or purpose, value, purpose, money. We shouldn't be afraid to use those two words together, because they're on the same side. They're very much together. If it is a purposeful company, by the way, Tom, when you say a company becomes purposeful and it doesn't pay their people good enough, so I say it's not a purposeful company. A purposeful company, a purpose-driven company, a real company who understands the purpose pays very well, pays as much as they can, because that is the purpose. The purpose is the human. The purpose is the people. So if you don't pay enough to your people, you're not purposeful. I'm sorry. And I'm talking about profitable companies, not non-profit organizations. For non-profit organizations, that's a different story. But if you're talking about a company, it means a kind of an organization should last long to create value for people. For me, a company is kind of a living organization, continuously creates value to people inside and around it. So it has to be profitable to create this value. It has to be purposeful. It should have a purpose. And inside that purpose, if your people are not happy, forget about that purpose. That's not a purpose. Any purposeful company should have very happy people living inside. If not, it's not a purposeful company at all. That's kind of my red line. Because what the purpose means, if it doesn't include human, it doesn't include people, that's not purpose. If you purpose the world, the climate change, doesn't matter if it doesn't include people or person that is connected to that. And not only, by the way, the ones who are working for them. A purposeful company should have very happy suppliers, should have very happy customers, should have a very happy banking working with them. If not, something is wrong.
Sahana, I love your thoughts. So thank you both for expressing. I just want to acknowledge Burak, who I know you've done a lot of work with. Haluk, yeah, the pandemic was a slap of life that made most of us think was most important. And I like this point about it was a deep crack on wild capitalism, because I think this is what you're both speaking to, right? Is the super, super, super wealthy controlling everything. And I think what I believe in that message and what you're both explaining, for me, where I see this all going is there does somehow need to be, whether it's money, whether it's a well-being economy, whether it's exchanging trades, there needs to be a more equitable system that comes out of all of this in the generations to come. Whatever that means, it will work itself out. But I think we've got to be really careful, for me, that the wild capitalism that Burak speaks to, that has to be reined in somehow. That wild capitalism seems to be the biggest problem. And I'm wondering what we think about that. How does, Sahana, what are your thoughts around this? I love that phrase, wild capitalism, because I think that's an interesting area to explore, I think.
I totally loved what Haluk said. Wild capitalism, yes, we're in the late stage capitalism, which has gone berserk. But I loved what Tom and Haluk said. Is, when we talk about a company, and first, yes, money is a neutral word. Money is just a form of exchange. It's a value exchange, made whatever. I mean, it's a neutral word, and a purpose-driven company that doesn't pay its employees, and where the employees slog for a purpose that seems to be I don't know, grand, but they don't take a home enough to feed their family. That company doesn't. I mean, that's not purpose. That's another form of capitalism. They're doing something on the side. But so purpose and profit, I totally agree, are on the same side. What happens when we say profit in that, in a let's say, when we say profit in a derogatory negative form, is the profit that gets concentrated in the hands of a few at the cost of many. That kind of rampant, ravaging, extractive economy, that is wild capitalism, that concentrates profit. No matter how much you slog, the profit goes to a handful at the top, and no one else gets a share in it. I think that is where it gets toxic. But when a purpose-driven company, a profitable purpose-driven company, pays its employees, pays all its stakeholders equitably, where anyone and everyone in connection with that company, be this suppliers, be they employees, be they contractors, be they whoever they are, who come within the purview, within the ecosystem of that organization, are happy and delighted and are glad to be a part of that company speaks for itself. Their purpose might be huge, their purpose might be quite small, their purpose could be restricted to their neighborhood, doesn't matter. If they spread human flourishing, if they have unyielding faith in human potential, if they improve even their neighborhood, their town, their society, their community, that's a purpose driven company that benefits everyone. So it's a well being driven company, well being of all sentient beings, not only the handful working within. And profit is essential because without profit, you can't keep the lights on. How the profit gets distributed is where it matters. Is And as people who are running companies, Tom and Haluk, you will be able to speak to this much more about the narratives, about the decisions that y'all take in creating an organization that not only generates profit, but that also, I'm using that, that also generates flourishing happiness. So, what would be your narratives? What would be your organizational decisions? Maybe one or two examples from y'all would be fantastic.
Okay, Tom, would you like to start or?
Yeah, and it's let's say it's because it's about narratives. What I find interesting is, for instance, we use the word shareholder value capitalism, and I always said it's just egoism, because what is it? You have, in a multi-stakeholder environment, you only focus on one stakeholder, and that's the shareholder. So you maximize profits, and you forget about the rest, to put it very simple. And that's it. This never worked. So in the end, it always leads to revolution. Just to go fast forward. So systems have to be balanced. It can be the nature, it can be a society. Otherwise, you will have wars, you will have revolution. So the answer is pretty simple. You should have a multi-stakeholder approach, and then you can zoom in into, let's say, our company. We do mortgages, and then I mean, I don't know how interesting it is to dive into this, but then you have just the stakeholders, and we start with our own people, then the clients, then the shareholders, and the starting point is the purpose. This, we always say, purpose is the CEO of the company, or purpose is the boss, and we don't have a CEO. We have rotation of leadership, but then every company can decide for its own how to solve this. But I think in the end, the answer is just, if you operate in a society, you have to take care about everybody you're dealing with, and if these are your suppliers or your clients or your people, and then you can dive into this and try to be a good employer, etc. We are, but these are details. But I think the starting point is to get rid of this kind of egoistic approach, and moving towards a collective approach, that you have to take care of all the stakeholders which are involved in your business if you want to survive in the long term.
Wow, great. That's a great, just a summary. The ego is a very dangerous thing, and Tom's just greatly explained. I just give another perspective of it. Ego is something that you feel happy instantly. Like when I was the boss, I was the CEO of the company. I was walking to my room every morning, like passing through this, people, and going to my big room, and I was being greeting with Mr. Her, hello. So it's kind of great for your ego. Everybody's asking you questions. Everybody's just trying to please you. That's great for ego, but that's kind of a huge big prison for you as well, because you are stuck there. You have your all these responsibilities and all this decision making pressure on you, and that makes you quite unhappy and very uncreative and very unhealthy, with sleepless nights. So when you can really move yourself from me to we, as Tom was saying, from egocentric to collective mindset, it is a big win-win. That's always I try to explain people, just like the one I say, profit and purpose in the same side. Also being collective and having for yourself a more time, more happiness, let's say more money. I'm richer. I mean, I don't like to, only talk about these romantic things. I love to talk about this, facts. The company got a lot bigger, and since I have shared the power, I have shared the profit. By the way, we are sharing the profit inside the company. It just come it's so big. My part is smaller now, but still it's a lot bigger than the one that I had 100%. So it's a win-win for everyone. So the universe is full of potential. We just need to learn how to use it. There's a benefit for all of us. All of us can be rich in the sense of being happy and fulfilled at the same time. So it is not a kind of a you give up something to take something. If you really learn how to do it, you earn anyway. So in our case, we have the full self-management, means like a really there's no hierarchy at all. And we decided to run without the leader, even nothing. But yes, everyone has its own way. It's our lateral way. We have the same mindset with Tom, but we are applying it a little bit a different way. So the teams has the whole level of managing, or let's say decision operationally or strategically. And that creates one thing. Sahana, you were saying that how do people can act impactfully or reasonably or purposefully? For me, the answer is very simple. If you leave the power and the decision making and the strategy and anything to a bunch of people, that's a natural outcome. Because a bunch of people, a number of people are never egoistic, that will never give egoistic decision. So let's say 10 people decisions will be always is good for earth, for climate change, for people, for any kind of problem, because it is a number of people making the decision together. You don't need to do anything. Our problem is we are keep trying to teach individuals to do correct decisions, because the individuals, when it comes with ego, can make wrong decision. But when 10 of the people, when a team make a decision, you don't need to do anything, because they will never give an egoistic decision. They give more the decision with including all the stakeholders, as Tom was mentioning. So what you need to do is just decentralize the power, just kill the power even, just leave to the people that they decide they act collectively together. Don't do anything else. You'll see the world become a better place.
Yeah, I wanted also to add something. I think that, let's say, especially if we talk for the West, that this whole idea of, let's say, being humble has disappeared. So and it doesn't have to be actually a religious context, but that's why I always say think with the end in mind. I mean, what is worth living for? If you ask people who are really old and, let's say, are close to the end of their lives, it's totally different answers than you get from somebody who is 30 or 25 and thinks that career is the main thing in life. So and there we are back then at the beginning about education. As long as we educate our children that the main goal in life is to show others that you are much smarter and richer than the rest, then we're not going to change the narrative. But at least if you get a little bit older and you have, let's say, worked for 10 or 20 years, then there should be at least a kind of turning point. You can call this a midlife crisis or something like that. But certainly there should be a kind of, let's say, that we are all grown up, and then reflect and watch into the mirror and say, okay, was this about it all, or is this different? And then people, if you have children, you watch perhaps your children and you think, oh, this is more interesting than the I don't know, an enormous amount of management meetings, or counting your money, etc., or spending time with your parents, etc. And I think this, it's all about these narratives. But as long as we don't change the narrative and we just go on this dead end street, we are destroying not only ourselves, but besides also our companies and also our society. And that's in a way very tragic. So Hegel said the only thing that what we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. And that's something which I find in a way, now it frustrates me enormously that on the one hand you have an enormous collective intelligence, can putting people on the moon, and I don't know, a lot of technical stuff, etc. But but it's so obvious that we're destroying our societies. We are destroying our societies by inequality, not only climate change. We are destroying our companies, etc. So, and it's also obvious, but it's a kind of, you're watching this, and if you, I mean, I just, you shouldn't read climate reports before you go to bed, because I mean, I can just understand that people just can't handle this anymore, because it's just too massive, this collective madness. We are in a high speed train or car, just before we hit the wall, so to say, and that frustrates me enormously.
I'd love to chip in. I really just wanted to say, like, well, I can't believe we're at 45 minutes. So just to let everyone know, we've got about another 10 minutes to run. I just wanted to pop in, Haluk, before yourself. So I'm really intrigued, right? We're talking about narratives. I love that you've brought in the profit and the growth piece and the purpose piece, right? Because this is a part that I wrestle with, I'll be honest. I wrestle with it, not because I think it's wrong in my mindset, but the idea of needing to grow, right, to become the model almost, right? You need to become big enough to influence the other people to change, right? Which I actually do understand that on the one hand. But I'm then thinking, how do we ensure that the people that are most impacted by our Western narratives are included as part of the design going forward, right? So if we get bigger, we get more self-managed companies, more collective decision making. How do we ensure that those people that are part of our supply chains, that may be in Africa, India, Latin America, that don't normally get a say in what we're deciding in the West, how can we ensure that they're part of the collective management process over time? I'm just curious. I'm just putting it out there as an open question, because I think that's part of this journey, right? Is how those people that aren't seen or heard today as part of this conversation, how do we get them into this?
From my side, it is again happening naturally. When I started this transformation, I've seen enormous interest from the people who are wondering how we are doing it and what are the results of it. So I would never thought that I would become a public speaker, which I am actually. Last 6-7 months, I've been invited to a lot of different conferences. And not only that, what amazes me is some big companies, they are just showing interest to invite me to talk with them, with their management team, how we are doing. So it's kind of everyone is feeling that there is this pain, and the solution might be this. So they're just wondering and they just want to hear more. And this is the one side. Another side, while they are seeing within this organizational model that we are really growing, quite fast, they see, wow, there's a profit in it. That's important, Gary. That's why I keep on saying that. They say, wow, there is a value in it. So it's not only a romantic idea, but there's a value in it. So guys, let's try it. And when I say let's try it, they don't have to go completely self-management. I'm sure any company touches to us comes 1 degree less hierarchical. I'm sure about it, by the way. It's big, but what I'm saying is the next day when they come and see Loutre, when they see what's going on here, the next day they do 1 degree less hierarchical decision or this hierarchical movement. So instead of probably the next day they were going to hire another director to some new department, they say, okay, no more director. Let's try to work with the people, with the team. So even that small change will allow us to go that direction. And today, I found, the agile companies, they try to become more agile. The agility is talking a lot. That is also moving towards to become a team management, and to earn team decisions, bringing people inside. So I think it's happening, Gary. We need to talk more. We need to show in our companies, and I know Tom's company, that within their success, they are very well known from the people, not because they are self-managed. So nobody would, ask me or Tom to come and talk with a company already bankrupt. So it's important with this, with this with I would think about it. I'm talking here and saying self-management is great. It's very purposeful. It's great for people. By the way, we are bankrupt. Do you have money? So that doesn't sound a really good conversation, and that the people will believe in me. That's the one thing. And Sahana, I would also love to talk about wholeness. You mentioned wholeness. First, Tom, I'll give the words to Tom to answer Gary, but I would like to talk about wholeness because that's also a big game changer.
Yeah, well, I would like to add with a very practical example to show that I also agree with you, Haluk. I understand Gary's let's say reluctancy towards growth, and I would like to split. I'm in favor of degrowth for the whole economy, and I'm in favor of becoming a market leader and the biggest player in our domain. And for me, there's no contradictory between those two. To show you an example, we were 3 years in a row number one great place to work in the smallest category until 50 people. And everybody said to us, yeah, self-organization, small company, that only works in a very small company. So, but you will see when you will become much bigger, you're not able to handle this anymore. Then you need strong leadership, a strong CEO, etc. This year, we were in the next category, 50 to 250, again number one. And that was very nice. I mean, we're not doing this kind of awards because we want to become number one, but it gives you a kind of, let's say, also proudness also for the whole team that we say, okay, we're 65 people now, and in the category until 250, we have proven that we also can win in this category. And there's something starts also to emerge in the whole company that everybody says a kind of David Goliath principle. We will show you. We will show you that we can stay as a human as we are. Also, if we're a market leader, and it becomes a goal in itself, so to say, just to show them that in a big organization you can act in a human way, and you don't have to transform to an egoistic way because market leaders can only be egoistic. That's just not the case. The second thing is, as long as you share all those experiences, so we put our cultural audit, it's called, online. So our audit, which gave us, let's say, we became number one, and we said, okay, can we share this audit publicly? They said, normally you don't share this kind of stuff because it's an audit. I said, okay, we share it. Everybody can just watch. So we hope other companies will also see, okay, this works. Let's try to implement as much as stuff Viisi also has implemented. Everybody can take from us. Everybody can visit us. Everybody can attend our meetings. We also speak at conferences, etc. Often at our own expenses. Yeah, they pay the travel or the hotel, but it takes an enormous amount of time. We also do this, and then I think in the end, as long as in a more global context, you also try, for instance, to put extra money in the company, for instance, to at least not to devastate nature or to become net positive, as an example, that or not export your stuff or your old stuff around the world. So keep your dirt into your own country, recycle it there, etc. Try to be net positive if you talk about climate, and then at least you have still the feeling that you have the power to act for yourself and not lose yourself in a global context in the end, and then say, no, we can't just do anything because in this globalized world we are just not powerful enough. So as long as we keep it small in our own country, then I think we have a higher chance also to impact in a positive way, and also to stimulate and to inspire others to do as well. Don't stay so silent for too long.
You know, don't you feel like that what you have said was wrong? That's what I felt when everybody's silent for a couple of seconds. I said, "Oh, I said something wrong."
No, it always
No.
feels a little bit annoying, but no, it's
Yeah,
you just let's say, I think in general everybody wants is much more attached to what we are doing than the way that most of companies are organized. So people are watching, looking for good examples, and
yeah,
we have to, what we can do is to inspire and to share and to hope. It's like those seeds, and then you see people starting for themselves, starting companies, starting to try to change stuff in their corporate environments, etc. And then you can just hope that of those seeds, more trees will grow, and that it, I mean, collective movement always sounds a little bit too big, but at least that others who also are searching for solutions and also sometimes are lost or think they are alone, that by inspiring them, they have the motivation to go on, because I think that's something is very difficult to go on.
It's very interesting. We are so far away between Tom and us. We are in Turkey. We are completely in different industries. We were the number one in Great Place to Work awards in Turkey, and now we move to the second stage. Yeah, we are 65 people. So it's kind of, like a very interesting that
Do
when
you
you
go to
have
Venice?
that.
Do you go to
Sorry.
Venice? Do you go to Venice in September?
Yes, yes, in Venice.
Okay,
Yes, we
we
were.
see
Yeah,
each other there.
yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
They invited us. By the way,
Amazing.
yes, yeah, yeah. They invited us to the
There are the
conference in
awards.
Europe. Yeah, yeah. So
Hey,
let's
how
let's
funny!
see. I mean, yeah, yeah. It is. It is actually. We are 65, by the way. It's great in Latro in my chemical company. So it's like another point is that for Holmes, just 2 minutes, Gary, because I believe this is important. When Tom was talking about the career, this is the word that I was thinking last couple of months, if it's a correct word. Because first, let's say 1 year ago, I decided human resource is a very wrong word, because human cannot be a resource. It cannot be something that you use. Resource is something that you use. So you cannot use human, because companies are for human. They are human. So now I am also questioning about the word career, because why we don't have the same mentality for being mom? Why there is no junior mom, senior mom, and the director mom, and the CEO mom? Like when you have your fourth kid, you'll become a senior mom, or let's say mother of CEO. Or when you have 6 kids, you are the president of mom. Like in other part of the titles or positions in our life, we don't have that hierarchy. Like you don't become a senior friend. There is no friend director. Like if you are just a friend, you are just a brother, you are just a mother. So in career, that is the issue for me. Why we have that leveling in the workspace, and it's the same thing. Why we have work-life balance. Why work should be something different? Not why we need to take this out from our life. Just include it. So in self-management, the great thing is without any hierarchy, without any bureaucracy, the people doesn't need to get a mask when they come Monday morning to work, because they don't need to show themselves to a boss, or they don't need to show something to the people under them. So they just come as they are. They don't need to change anything. So when they don't need to change anything, it's just like going to a friend's dinner, or going to see your mother, or have time with your kid. So you just come to do value. You just create value to come to Latro. It's not a work. Work life is not something different, or there is no career here. What the hell is the career? While you are growing up, you just would like to earn more money. Then you earn more money. Then you would like to, have more fulfillment. Yes, have more fulfillment. But career is ego. That is creating ego. The levels of the hierarchy is ego. That is creating ego. No, it's just like being mother. How many years you are mother? 5 years. I have 3 kids. Great. How many years you are as a chemical engineer? 5 years, and I have 3 projects done. Same. No need anything else. That's the thing that bothers me now. So I'm questioning the word career.
I love that. Because somehow career has always seemed to me like, so again, going back to what Tom was also earlier saying, the education system is a reflection of the organization system, and vice versa. You go from grade 1 and grade 2 and grade 3 and whatever standards, whatever they are called in different countries, and then there is a teacher who will score you. There is a boss here who will score you, who will do your performance management. Teacher will do your performance management. Then you clear high school, then you clear one position and you become a senior manager. It's kind of two parallel tracks, one for kids, one for adults. So a career, like Haluk said, cannot be like a stepwise journey. A career is an inner journey where if I love my work, and I'm saying work as a kind of a blend of my unique gifts and talents and what I'm bringing to a collective organizational purpose, then I am going to try and become better and better at it through projects, through interactions with my colleagues, through feedback, through mentoring, through coaching, because that is something I'm passionately fond of doing, whatever that something is for each one of us. So labeling it, because humans are, I mean, we love to label. It makes life easier for us, that's all. We love to put things in boxes. These three people, then we literally draw a diagram chart in, I mean, an organizational chart as boxes and lines. I mean, really, an organization doesn't look like boxes and lines. It's an interconnected, interrelated relationship of human beings. I mean, no boxes and charts can, lines can represent that. So, kind of, in totality, what we've been talking about today is, and what Tom and Haluk are doing in their individual businesses, in their work, is kind of putting dents in the mega narrative that is running the show today. So their kind of work puts dents in that narrative, kind of punctures the complacency of that narrative in different ways. And such puncturing, such dents into that meta narrative, mega narrative is so very crucial. And as more and more people keep doing that, that becomes a collective movement, kind of a movement of movements, if you will, like tiny movements adding up to making that super narrative running the show today gradually, what's the word, uh, obsolete, dysfunction. It's dysfunctional, but it's gradually kind of made redundant through these actions, through people like Tom and Haluk, through their organizations. And isn't it amazing? Both of them are best places, great places to work
Funny
in their own
coincidence.
categories.
I
That's
didn't
kind of
know.
brilliant. I love that. See, that's another emergence. I loved it.
Sahana, that's what we're doing, right? Like, I love the fact that we've actually brought Tom and Haluk together so they can have a beer in Venice in September.
Yeah,
I know.
What a perfect result! What a perfect result!
And spread your stories like seeds, like Tom said. Spread your stories far and
yeah,
wide.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
the funny thing is when I listen to Haluk, it's like somebody talking about our company. So it's so
Isn't that amazing?
we use it also exactly the same examples. I mean, you don't become a better father by getting a new business card and this kind. We don't have business cards. We don't have titles, etc., etc. So this whole career is about, let's say, also about wholeness and more horizontal and doing different things, etc. But not about this like getting an extra stripe on your shirt or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
so, but it's also very interesting, perhaps also for you, Gary and Shahana, is that I mean, this is just coincidence that we just then find out here that we both number one in this great place to work environment. But it would be interesting also to dive into this because all those companies who are very high on this list of good employers, they share a lot of same attitudes, but still there isn't this not this tipping point that one says, okay, it really makes sense, also from a business context, to act human and to become a good employer. So, from a business context, it makes sense to win those awards because you will grow your company because people want to work for you.
Yes.
So, perhaps it would be interesting also to dive into this and then perhaps if you can find more guests so that you also have this connection of growing companies.
And now we will have a larger group of people that we drink in Venice.
Yeah, very
Oh
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
very
and
good.
spread the stories.
Yeah, sure. I would love to speak on conferences in Istanbul. So everybody wants to invite me. I love Istanbul. So,
Come over,
but I
come over.
never,
And
I never
you,
was, I never was invited
you,
yet. Only
you,
to Frankfurt or
I'm,
this kind of places. Also nice, but
I'm inviting you right now. Here's your office. Come over. It's something that you are very used to. It's your office. Come over.
very good.
Hey,
Thank
Haluk,
you.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
with you in November. Why don't we all get together in November at your office?
Yes, please, please, always welcome. Just like Tom was saying, our office is open for everyone, like everyone in our ecosystem. And I was just talking today with a friend. Just bring your computer and just come work. It's an open space, no rooms, no offices. It's just a simple place that we get together. So welcome always.
Very nice.
Love that.
I'm conscious of the
Same for you.
time. I'm
Yep.
conscious of the time, so let's maybe do a
You're
bit of a
right.
check. Do a bit of a check out. I just want to say thank you, all of you, for like being so vibrant. Thanks for joining us. I've not managed to keep a track of all the comments. There's been some nice comments coming in as well. I love the constructive exploration. And what I mean by is I do get stuck sometimes. I work in the chemical industry with Haluk, and I sit there going like, Jesus Christ, the way this all works is like, it's doing my head in. And then I come into this beautiful exploration going, but there is another way. And I get reminded of that by being with you all. And I think this is the point, right? We need to share more experience and understanding as to what is actually happening, not just in the textbooks, but in reality. And that's what you've both really showed brilliantly today for Sahana and I. So I just want to thank you both for showing up so fully and so passionately and sharing what's working for you guys at the moment. So Sahana, can we maybe go to you first, then Haluk, then Tom for a checkout? Like how are you feeling? What's come up for you? What's maybe one thing you've learnt or had reinforced for you as we check out today?
I love the conversation, the energy, the stories, the flow, everything. And it's gone way beyond my expectation of, what we were holding space for. It has truly emerged. It emerged in the absolute sense of literally creating something new collectively together. And one of the key things I'm taking away today is that there are organizations denting the big narrative, denting the current narrative, redundant narrative running the show. And such organizations like Haluk's and Tom's are the hope, are the organizations of the future, are the next stage organizations, whatever we call them. And those are the organizations that will become, and I'm going back to my introduction, these are the organizations that will break the matrix, that will break the illusion of the old narrative, and that will become the wayfinders and healers of of this planet, of all sentient beings, of the multi-stakeholders of the ecosystem. And I'm really looking forward to more and more such organizations coming together through our conversations in Venice and wherever. So, way to go.
Thank you very much, Sana. All these great words. Thank you very much, Gary. I mean, so arranging this, it's great. It's always great to be together with like-minded people. But I guess it is the first time that I am being together with a like-minded organization, which do it. So, Tom, thank you very much. I'm very glad to be with you today because having someone who is doing it next to me felt me very comfortable, and it's kind of I'm feeling that I'm not alone. So thank you very much, and I feel great right now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was really nice, a nice conversation, and what a nice outcome that I know that we'll meet in such a short time in Venice. So also thank you both, Gary and Sahana, for bringing us together. This is really great. Yeah, and I mean we had a lot of different talks and conversations. I actually think that the majority of the people thinks like we do, but we have to activate more. So the impression is always that we are the exceptions, but it's exactly the opposite route. And I think we need more self-confidence and to shout out more out loudly to really speed up and also free a lot of people of their awkward situation where they don't want to go to the office because they just don't. I mean, perhaps they like what they do, but they don't like the way the whole surrounding is built around them. So I think people build companies, try to change the system for the better.
So Tom, you are saying that a lot of people wants the way how we are operating, but they
Yeah.
are not crazy enough to try it. So we are the crazy ones, right?
Yeah, but
Probably nuts.
yeah, we were just fortunate that in a certain situation we just founded the companies and did so. But I also understand that if you have to earn your salary and have to your family, that's very difficult, and that you say, okay, that's very nice listening to you guys, but sorry, how am I going to do this?
This, and yes, you are a bit nuts, Haluk and Tom. but my final checkout, and I do want to actually build on Tom's point, because I think this is the perfect, I feel, summary circle, to use the circles we started with. That there is this really powerful combination of, like you say, being the igniter, being those early adopters, pushing the envelope, as Tom and Haluk are doing with their businesses. But you're right, Tom, because I work with many of them. Way more people are far more aware of exactly what's going on, exactly where we are systemically, but they are paralyzed through fear of speaking up in case they think they might lose their job if they do, or they think they might be ostracized if they do. So for me, part of you role modeling what you're doing is the more of us that get in this dialogue, the more we realize we're not on our own, as you two found out in this conversation. Yeah. Right? If you realize you can speak up, or the crazy thought that you thought you had isn't so crazy because these people are also thinking it. You know, I just think there's something really potent in that. How do we create the conditions to let everybody show up and bring, no matter how wild, no matter how silly, no matter how afraid, like just allow them to get it from here through their mouth. That will change the world. I'm absolutely convinced. That's what I'm taking away from this mind-blowing conversation, you amazing humans. So, Sahana, Haluk, Tom, all of you for watching and joining us, whether you watch us live or watch us back. I get the sense there's a round 2 coming, probably just after September. Maybe live in Istanbul, Haluk? I don't know.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Come over. Let's do that.
Let's sort it out. But thanks everyone for joining us, and thanks everyone for showing up so fully. Take care. Cheers.
Very good.